Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I wanted to show you today what I've been working on, which all started from a few weeks ago when I had a little mark making session. I got the old paints out and a few different tools for mark making and an old bed sheet, and I just had a play about, and I just wanted to share with you the results and what I'm actually doing with the pieces that I've created. So some of the tools I've used on this one are this skewer with a pointy end. I like to scratch into the surface and the paint to create marks with that one. And then you've also got the other end as well that you can use as small dots, even if you dip it in paint and then create dots with it. A fork, plastic fork, I find is really useful for getting these marks. As you can see, I use that quite a lot actually, and you can just play around and swoop with it. And also a old plastic knife. It's got serrated edges there, so again that's quite nice to move through the paint to create texture. And then things for creating circles, old cotton reels, and I just press into the fabric or print using the paint and just coating the bottom of the circle and printing onto the fabric. We've got milk bottle tops as well. Again, you can use those either way, that way or that way to get your circles. And there's another different type of cotton reel here for a smaller circle. So they're quite good as well to use. But basically anything, old credit cards you can use to spread around the paint and use on its edge to mark into the fabric and spread the paint around. But it's basically just a case of trying different things and having a play. So I'll show you some of the pieces that I created doing that technique, and then I'll show you what I'm doing with one of the pieces as far as stitching into it. So here we are, this is one of the pieces. There's quite a few good marks on that one using the plastic fork and the old cotton reel. Another one here. Oh yes, and also I have some black ink that I also use just to sort of drip onto the surface, and then played around with those too. And again, using the plastic fork, I've created swirls of lines and movement. Another one here. I've tended to stick with blues and greys, and then the black ink obviously. And in the first piece that I showed you, I added a little bit of an orangey red colour. These tend to be on the more grey and blue colour palette. Next one, quite a few circles on this one. And as I say, this is just an old cotton bed sheet, no longer used, so recycle it. And then here in this one, I've used quite a bit of the ink, and I think on this one I used the skewer to well, I dripped little spots of ink onto the surface and then dragged the skewer through and moved it around. So that's quite a nice effect. So they are some pieces that I created, and then there's another piece here that I've actually started working on with stitch. And it's done in the same way, exactly the same way, using the paints and the mark making techniques. And I've started off by adding a piece of interwoven lining, we call it bump here, and it just gives a slightly quilted effect. So I've put that onto the back of this piece, and what I did was I've got a small embroidery hoop here, and I laid it onto the fabric, put the fabric in the embroidery hoop, and picked out an area that I wanted to start with. So I thought this area was quite interesting in the centre, a few circles that I'd printed. So I started by fixing the fabric into the embroidery hoop, and so that then led me to just focus on that area within the hoop and started to stitch. And I stitched it quite intuitively. I just looked at the marks that were made in that area and just started stitching. I believe I started along, there was a line or a mark that I created, whether it was with the skewer, but then I wanted to do these parallel straight stitches along the line, and also did it on the other side as well. But then we got this to this circular area here that I printed, so I wanted to then radiate straight stitches from that circle. And then also I've added the French knots. I started off with a pale grey embroidery thread, and then I moved on to some seed stitches, as you can see here. But then once I'd done that area, I then moved the embroidery hoop onto another area and worked on that section too. Now I can't remember what sections I did in what order, but basically I moved my way around the fabric and worked on different areas so that I only had the area in the hoop to focus on. And as you can see, it's starting to fill with stitch. And once I'd been around a few times, I took the hoop off, and now I'm just sort of working freely without a hoop and just looking at the piece overall and using my intuition to just decide where I want to start stitching and how I want to start stitching. And it's really just going with what I feel. There's no set rules. I just find an area that I would like to stitch into. And I've used varying stitches. But I'm really feeling that I'm wanting to just try and connect with my work more and just go with the flow and just see what happens, with no preempting as to the finished result. Just let myself decide as and when I get to that point. So I quite like these straight stitches that are in a column in the orange. I started off with the grey, leaving it subtle, and then moved on to the blue, and now I've been adding the orange. Gives a good contrast, I think. But yeah, I'll just be building up where I feel it needs stitch. And at the moment I think I'm going to carry on using the grey in this area just to fill out. It seems like there's a bit of a blank space there, so I think I'll just see where the thread, needle and thread take me. But I thought you might be interested just to see how the process of creating a piece of cloth with marks all over it can be then stitched into to create something else. Okay, so I'll carry on with this and I'll update you maybe in another video, see how we got on. If you do want to follow my progress with this, over on Instagram, Oh So Mindful, and also I have a Ko-fi page that I update to, and also over there you get to see extra posts if you become a Thimble member. It's a monthly subscription, but you can cancel at any time, and if you just wanted to try it out for a month, it's just £5. And then I'm also on Facebook as well, and obviously here on YouTube. So I'll try and keep regular updates with you on this piece and see how we get on. Okay everyone, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you again in another one. Take care, bye for now.